For our daily cancellation on this Monday, we revisit the subject of fat acceptance and body positivity. This is a topic which has popped up several times during the segment, during this particular segment, daily cancellation. You might even say that it weighs heavily on my mind. What brings it up today are the slew of articles preemptively condemning anyone who shames anyone else over their weight gain during the COVID lockdowns. The media is anticipating that millions of Americans are going to emerge from their cocoons this summer like bulbous, flightless butterflies, their time in lockdown having transformed them from overweight to even more overweight. But we are warned, do not shame anyone for this. It's not their fault. The Daily Beast has an article from Elena Dimopoulos. That's how you pronounce her last name. It's titled, "Our Bodies Emerge from Lockdown to a Fat-Shaming Chorus. Ignore It." And she says, quote, "If you want to lose the quarantine 15, that's okay. And if you don't or can't, that's okay too. Find the best way to exercise that works for you." Well, later in the article, in an especially revealing passage, she quotes Amy Conway, who's the editor-in-chief of Health magazine. And she says, quote, "A lot of people have been sedentary and there are concerns about going back to work. They might feel more winded going up a flight of stairs. So moving your body throughout the day is certainly something we'll encourage. It's not about how to lose the quarantine 15. It's about making people feel good." That's all that matters. Slate has a similar diatribe, this one titled, "How to Survive Post-Pandemic Weight Loss Pressure." The article is written by a Rebecca Onion. And no, I'm not sure why the ladies at the Daily Beast and Slate all have names that sound made up, but Miss Onion lectures the reader not to post about their workout routines or their weight loss strategies, because then your social media followers who prefer to be lazy bastards, my words, not hers, might feel bad. And remember, as we learned from the Daily Beast, this is all about making people feel good. That's all that matters. By the way, if you're wondering, the experts agree. Which experts? Doesn't matter. We've learned that too. The experts have spoken. Doesn't matter. You don't need to know the details, but the experts have said this. The website verywellhealth.com has this headline, quote, "Experts, stop making people feel bad about COVID weight gain." We need the experts to tell us don't make people feel bad. This one is written by Carla Delgado, who is at least appears to be a real person based on her name. Now, I must admit, off the bat, that I can't relate to any of this content. First of all, I've personally been out of lockdown since March. By that, I mean March of 2020. I never really entered into lockdown, except to the extent that I was forced to when everything around me shut down. But even when everything was shut down, we were still very active in my family. More active than we'd ever been, if anything, because there wasn't much else to do besides run around outside, go for hikes, go for walks, and all that kind of thing. That's why my wife and I both emerged from this past year in very good physical shape. Now, I realized that my bragging about my own fitness, that by doing that, I just did the very thing that Slate and the Daily Beast warned me not to do. So why did I do it? Well, because they told me not to do it. And also because I'm not going to be made to feel embarrassed and ashamed of being physically healthy. Because that's insane. You know, in my life, like most people, I've been out of shape and I've been in shape. And I mean, I'm always some kind of shape, just not one that I prefer all the time. And I always felt embarrassed about being out of shape, not about being in shape. And that's how it should be. And why is it? Because I was out of shape because I was lazy. It's embarrassing to be lazy. A person ought to be embarrassed by that. They shouldn't dwell in that embarrassment. They shouldn't stew in it, wallow in it. I'm not recommending depression and self-loathing as a strategy. I'm recommending that people simply confront the reality of their own personal situation, admit that it's not ideal to be overweight, admit that they have control over it, and then take control and change it. See, the problem is that the body positivity mentality precludes people from trying to change the things they don't like about themselves. And that fact points to the glaring self-contradiction in this whole mindset. It's a contradiction that has, of course, been in evidence for a long time, long before the pandemic. For example, here's a clip from a show on the Oprah Winfrey Network. It just went viral over the past couple of weeks, but it originally aired, I think, in 2019. So here's an overweight woman explaining how it's not her fault that she's overweight because racism did it to her. Let's watch.
You can't get access to good health care, good insurance. The research says that black women, when we do the same diets as white women, we lose less weight and we lose it slower, even when we're following the diet than our white women counterparts. And what public health practitioners think is that our stress responses in the body change our metabolism. It's literally that the racism that you're experiencing and the struggle to make ends meet actually means the diet don't work for you the same.
I mean, we've made everything else racist. Why not make carbs and calories racist too? But whether racism is the lame excuse for gaining weight, or it's the pandemic, or whatever else we come up with so that we can avoid going for a jog, because that's really what all this is about, the whole body positivity movement is just one long way around having to go for a jog. But whatever the excuse is, the fact is that we're making excuses. Okay, and that's interesting, isn't it? Because we are both making excuses for weight gain and going to great lengths to make sure that people don't feel bad about their weight gain. And yet at the same time, the body positivity movement tells us that we should be proud of our bodies, no matter their shape, no matter how many extra pounds of lard may be draped over them. We should celebrate our fatness, not our fitness, we're told. So then which is it? If you ought to be proud of your fat body, then why are you making excuses for the fact that it's fat? It seems like an oddly schizophrenic message. If you're declaring, well, fat is beautiful, I'm so proud of it, and also it isn't my fault that I'm like this, don't blame me. This is a case of having the cake and eating it too, which ironically is also how you put the extra pounds on. Point being, you really have to choose, right? Either obesity is a disease, an affliction, something that has befallen you by pure happenstance and misfortune, or it's something beautiful and powerful and worth celebrating. It can't really be both. I mean, let's think of an example. We would all agree that bone cancer, for instance, is an affliction, a disease, a terrible misfortune. But we would also agree that we don't call it beautiful. We don't celebrate it. Neither would we say that a person with cancer should be ashamed, obviously, but we do recognize it as a bad thing and something that, if we can, we want to stop, get rid of, prevent. Ultimately, we want to cure it. Cancer is bad. We want to destroy cancer. There's no controversy about that. With obesity, there should also be no controversy. It's a bad thing. In many cases, it's a fatal thing. We should want to get rid of it. Fortunately, getting rid of obesity is 1,000 times easier than getting rid of cancer. All you have to do, in the majority of cases, is eat less and exercise more. For almost every overweight person on the planet and throughout history, in almost every case, that is enough to solve the problem. It is a very simple solution. I didn't say an easy solution, a simple one. The only thing that makes obesity confusing and controversial is that the body positivity movement can't figure out its own position on the subject. They want us to both pity the obese for their obesity and also celebrate the obese for their obesity. But you see, a trait cannot be both pitiful and praiseworthy. It can't be a disease and beautiful. What kind of thing is that to say? What is it, a beautiful disease? You have to choose between the two. It's either beautiful or it's disease. We should either celebrate it or it's not your fault, it's a terrible thing that happened to you. One or the other. Now, personally, between the two options, I would hope you choose the woe is me, it's not my fault, it's because of racism, it's because of the pandemic approach. What you just heard there in the video clip, I'd prefer that. Go with that. Because at least then you're admitting that obesity is a bad thing. A thing we should want to get rid of, not embrace. That's not much, but it's a start. We can work with that. Now it's just a matter of getting you to accept a little bit of personal accountability, and you can start by being accountable for the fact that you are today canceled. Well, I hope you enjoyed that clip from the Matt Walsh Show. If you did, go ahead and hit that subscribe button right down there so you can stay up to date on all of our future content.